What up? What up? What up? This is Mike the Philosopher here with another one. This one, ready to love. I have a special guest with me. Keitu is in the building. Hello.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, how you doing? All right. Good to have you again.
Thank
Look,
you for having me.
RTL has been very interesting, especially this reunion. What do you think about that?
Oh my goodness. It was really nice seeing everyone in the same house.
Hmm.
I think it was interesting. I'm really liking this season. I'm not 100% certain why, but this is definitely one of my faves.
This
Yeah.
season is one of your favorites? Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure why yet, but I think it may be the cost because production is a bit sketchy this time around. I think
Mhm.
I've picked up on certain points of the episode where you could see the involvement of production. But other than that, I think the cast is pretty nice. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anybody that you relate to? Any of the ladies? I know you can see yourself in all the ladies. That's
Yes.
one talent women have. They can kind of see themselves in almost every other woman at some aspect. What what which one of the cast members I would ask do you relate to the most as far as you understand why she make the moves she make, you understand um you know, why she's in the situation she is. Who is that one cast member you say, I understand how she moves?
Uh, it would have to be Lee. I think I'm an extroverted introvert, so I don't like putting everything out like that. So I do reserve a few things and keep it in my mind sometimes. Um, I see a lot of myself in her and her reactions and her ability to refrain from some conflicts. Because I mean, some fights are really not yours to take on. So why stress yourself? So I see a lot of myself in her and who else? Yeah, I think I relate a bit with her the
Okay, yeah,
most.
cool. I can see that. I can see that. So, when the show first started, I seen that Sierra was getting real frustrated with the men. Um, she seemed to feel like the men are not coming at her. What were your thoughts about that? Is she valid in thinking that, or do she you think she should be understanding that she's in a competitive situation?
Um, so I think she's valid in feeling that way, but she has every right to feel that way. But I don't think she should be frustrated. I don't think she has any solid connections there. I think the strongest connection was Herbert, and he's gone. Um,
Mhm.
and she's really just hanging on to stay on the show. Her frustration is valid, but I think it's a waste of energy as well because I think it's pretty clear that I don't think the men are interested in what she has to give. I don't think they're looking for your crazy baby mama,
Yeah.
right?
Right, right, right. Yeah. Well, she was cool baby mama. That's what I had labeled Sierra as
Well,
the cool baby mama. But yeah, I just feel like this. There's four men and there's six women.
yeah.
As that number six woman, why are you still I don't know, maybe it's just me, but why are you still expecting these four guys to chase you? The numbers don't even favor you. Like it's
Mm.
just kind of funny to me how some women don't want to compete for men. They feel like they should be chased all the time. When
Mm,
you're on
mm,
a dating show and the numbers work against you,
mm,
you
mm.
have to put in some effort to make yourself a little more known. Okay. And I think
Yeah.
that Sierra is just like, oh well, I'm used to being chased. I'm this, I'm that, and I'm the stuff. I'm the queen. You dealing with a queen. You need to recognize. And it's like it's only four men, and it's six women.
That,
I,
that's
I
a valid
you see what I'm
observation. Yeah.
saying though? Yeah, you see what I'm saying? It's like, look, in 2023, people ain't chasing no more. You either interested or you're not. So, you know, I know that's the old fashioned way of doing things, and men did used to have to chase women to compete, but 2023 is six women, it's four men. You have to do some stuff to stand out, and I don't think a lot of women, including Sierra, kind of understand that. What are your thoughts about that?
That's a good point, actually. I'm so glad you brought that perspective into the observation because now that you're mentioning it, yeah, you're right. I didn't see enough. Women don't like competing. Oh, I don't know why. I think it must be, well, I can tell you, let me be honest, okay? Here in South Africa, the competition is rife in the dating market
Right.
amongst the women. I don't think it's communicated. It's very subliminal. But now that you're mentioning it, I'm like, Sierra should have like upped the ante. You are 100% correct. And so I feel
Exactly.
like she was sulking. And if you're serious about getting Moria's attention, she should have been running up to him with his plate and taking the plate that Jessica
Right.
handed over to him. and
Exactly. And I was going to mention that Jessica, she made Morier a plate, and she
yeah,
was going to make him give him some dessert. She got major props from me for that because she understood the assignment. You know what I
yeah.
mean? She
Mm,
understood that, okay, I got to step up my game. I got to compete for this guy because it's on like it's her and Sierra. And I don't think
yeah,
Morier is really in the running for Cat, but they pretend to have a connection. But it's only Jessica and Sierra, so you got to compete. And she understood the assignment. Jessica
yeah,
understood the assignment, and Sierra is, I'm not used to this. I'm a queen. You should be coming to me. Y'all not making no effort. They were at the dinner table and she was like, see, I can't do it. I can't do it. And all this other stuff. And it's like, do you understand what's going on? You know what I
mm,
mean? It's four
mm,
men, it's six women. You know, you gotta stand out. So I thought that was a little odd, and I wanted to see what you thought about that. Um,
interesting.
in my opinion, Kat is not really getting enough attention by these guys. Why do you think that is?
Um, I think in one of your reviews you mentioned that you don't think Kat has a suit on the show, and I 100% agree. I don't think I can't see her with any of the guys here. I actually thought she stood a chance with Herbert, but he's not there. But I think in terms of, I can't even see her with Quentin. I don't think she's getting the attention because the guys just I don't think they're interested. I don't think it's that difficult to see if someone's interested in you, especially in a dating show. So I don't think they're buying what she's getting, or they like her, or I'm not
Yeah,
sure. What do you
yeah.
think?
See, well, I think Kat is in a bit of a conundrum, and she probably don't get as many men as she probably should be, and I think she has a couple curses. Okay, the, 1 of 1 of her curses is, 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 1 of I mentioned on one of my videos, and I'm not saying she is, but
That was wild.
some
I need
said,
to hear it.
yeah, some men think she looked trans or she was trans. Okay, which was, I understand where that came from. I don't think she is, but I said that, you
You
know,
can see.
yeah, I could kind of see where it came from. So that was one of the things. Now, either she's going to run up against a guy who think that she's trans, which is, it is what it is, or she's going to run up against a guy who thinks she is out of her league, who knows she's a woman but feel like she's too beautiful, or she's going to run up against a guy who thinks she's high maintenance. She has a lot of curses going against her
Okay.
at the same time. So men are going to find her intimidating in more than one way. Okay.
Oh,
They're going to find her
okay.
intimidating in more than one way. And I think that that is what's going on with some of the men there too. I think that they're going to find her intimidating in more than one way. She's very tall. So a
Mm,
lot of the short guys are going to find her intimidating. A lot of the ugly guys are going to find her intimidating because she's beautiful. A lot of the questionable guys are going to find her intimidating because they think she's trans. She has a lot of
mm,
curses. And the men on this show, I think one of them, all of them have some kind of insecurity about her that they are dealing with. You know what I mean? They all seem to be interested in her, but some of them seem to be a little hesitant for some whatever reason.
mm,
And
mm.
I think that Kat unfortunately has a lot of curses. Now she's a good woman. She looks good. She acts good. I love her personality. I just think that um her type of guy is not on the show. Let me ask you, do you think that coming on the show late is a thing, or it doesn't really matter?
Um,
She was a wild card. So
yeah. I think it may be a thing. It may boost her appeal because of, you know, how novelty is. People, they may have been used to the other girls, and she was probably seen as far more appealing than the others because she was the hot new girl. But I think had she maybe started with everyone, they could have reached the same conclusion that you've reached now about her a lot sooner. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I do
mm.
think her coming a bit late may have boosted her appeal a bit more with the guys. But ultimately, I think many of them reached the same conclusion that you're getting to now, that maybe she is a bit too savvy. She is tall. She is absolutely gorgeous. So yeah,
so they
they,
all
I can
have
see what
that.
you.
So they all have a insecurity, you think, in
Yeah,
one
yeah,
form or another. Yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, I'm thinking that too because there's no reason why a woman like that should be single or have maybe little to no interest unless there is some underlying insecurities on the men's side, and maybe just not enough interest on her side. I don't see her really going after Chris that much or
Yeah.
anything. And I don't, her connections, what her first connection was Herbert. He's gone.
Mm.
um and it's kind of weird, the situation she's in. I think Kat is going to find a good guy, but and Quentin, I think her physical attraction is to Quentin, but she can't get to know Quentin. She can't get to know
Well, no,
Quentin at all because Janelle is like
oh my,
right on his heels. What did you think
yeah.
about that scene with her and Janelle at the barbecue? She tried to go out and get to know Quentin, seen the muscles, so she tried to talk to him, and here comes Janelle.
Mm, mm, mm,
What
mm.
what 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 are your thoughts about that?
That irked me. I was so annoyed by Janelle, but I think I'm such a like if I were a cat, I think I would have made Janelle lose her whole mind. I probably wouldn't have moved. I would have just stood there and Quentin, like Janelle isn't there, and had my moments with Quentin, and then left when I was ready. Because Janelle does have bully tendencies, and I think personally, I mean, from experience, I found that a lot of bullies do what they do to get a reaction out of people. So I'd probably just completely disregard Janelle. I probably wouldn't even speak to someone like her. But she annoys me.
Mhm,
I'm
mhm.
sorry. But the character they've created on Ready to Love, she's probably not completely all bad, but I just think her character on RTL, it's annoying. I wouldn't give her any attention.
Every story needs a villain. So
Right.
this
Yeah.
story is Janelle is the villain in this season of RTL. And you know, they probably casted her on this show for that reason, to be honest, to stir up drama. But
But I see,
go
sorry,
ahead, go ahead.
I see a very insecure woman. I wouldn't be shaken by her behavior. Um, I think she's actually um, putting on a front. Um, and I think I see right through her. I think she's really insecure and she's trying to just tramp on every woman who intimidates her. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Now, in all fairness, Janelle kind of warned everybody of who she was. When she first
Mm,
came on the show, she said she was adopted. She had some insecurity issues. She had some
mm,
abandonment issues
mm,
because she was adopted. She said this practically episode 1 or 2, and I remember this. So the way she's acting towards Quentin and Kat, I'm not a bit surprised. She probably had
mm.
some guys get taken from her by other women, and
Yeah.
she is very insecure. She is very scared of losing her guy, and she has abandonment issues. So all of that factors in, and you talking about the best looking woman, practically the best looking woman on the show, going after her man. So she's going to defend it like, she's going to defend it like a goalie, a soccer goalie. So she every time she sees a woman with Quentin, she goes out there and makes herself known. She did that
Mm,
with Quentin, with Kat. She did that with Lee and Quentin.
mm,
When
mm,
Lee, they were doing fishing. You'll see that next week, though. When they go fishing next week, you'll see that she's going to do the same thing. She has abandonment issues, but she warned us of this. So this is why it's not that surprising to me, even though it's
mm,
very annoying.
mm. I
What do you?
commend her though. She's competing. Like she's doing what needs to be done, but it's a little toxic. It's not giving healthy competition, but yeah, she's lucky she's pulling such stunts with women who aren't equally as aggressive.
Right, right, right. Yeah. So, I thought that was interesting. Jessica says she's not the biggest PDA type of person. Uh,
Mm.
do you think that that's starting to hurt her connection with uh, Morier?
I think so. Judging by some of the needs Maria has, I think a lot of them fall on the physical side. So he would probably, that's probably one of his, love languages. So I think it would definitely affect their relationship from growing if he's an affectionate and physical sort of person. I feel sorry for Jessica because some people just aren't affectionate or physical like that. And even if they try, it's just not their nature. So it's really hard to be that person if that's just not you. So yeah, I don't. I think that will definitely sort of create a barrier in them creating the sort of relationship that, or even developing whatever they have now into a solid relationship. Yeah.
But you know what I noticed is that when she was with Chris, she was holding hands with Chris. She walked him to the car, was holding
Hmm.
hands with him. I think she was hugging all on him. I don't know if I'm buying it. I think that she probably is. She does have PDA,
Mm.
but I don't think she's attracted to Morier. That's just
That
my
could be.
that's just my
Mhm.
guess. What do you think about that?
Well, in that case, that's a I mean, that could be a possibility. Yeah, actually, I think typically human behavior, when you like someone, you want to, laugh and tap them on the shoulder. So you mentioning the fact that she was holding Chris's hand, yeah, she's probably not physically attracted to Moria. You could be right about that. I actually think you are. um,
Do you remember the
and then
scene when they were she walked him to the car and she was holding hands with him? He had to leave the whole down because he was getting an award from his job.
oh yes, yes, and they
Yeah.
were walking around, and she was, oh yeah, yeah, I
Yeah, and
remember.
she was, all huggy against him and she
Yes,
walked him around, carried him around, and then went to the truck holding hands. Like I was like, okay. So when you tell Morier you're not the biggest PDA person, I'm like, really?
no,
Here's the
she,
thing.
yeah.
I think she's very physically attracted to Chris. Jessica, I think she's
Mm,
very physically attracted to Chris. I think
mm.
she's mentally attracted to Morier. What do you think about that?
I mentally attracted to Moria. I don't really think she's mentally attracted to Moria.
Wow. Okay. Now, she
I,
says she loved the way that they communicate. They have a more direct type of communication, which she vibes with. Um, do you think that that's an authentic
yeah,
thing or no? Not really. Why
yeah,
why
I
don't you
can't
think
see
she's
it
mentally attracted to Morian?
because she liked. I mean, liking the way someone communicates with you doesn't mean you're mentally attracted to the person. I just think she likes her ability to interact with Moria. She can be her bold, direct self around Moria. Um, she can be herself around Moria.
Mhm.
But that may not necessarily mean there's an attraction there. I don't know if I'm making sense. It could develop,
Well,
but
so let
mhm.
me ask you this then. Do you think that she's on the show just to make it to the end, or she has like she made Morier a plate, you know what I mean? She trying to connect with him, but what I did notice also is that when it was time to go to bed, she wanted to get some
Mhm.
sleep. She didn't really want to spend more time with him. He brung her some soap or something like that. You remember that scene when he
I
went
saw
into
that.
the room?
Mm.
I think he was trying to find a way to spend more time with her because he said this is pretty much her race to lose. But at the same time, I just don't think that she is really trying to be physical with him. You know what I mean? I I I'm kind of stuck in between her being mentally attracted to him and not physically. I just don't think she's physically attracted to him. I think she liked the conversations they have on the phone and
Oh
things like
yes.
that. But when it comes to being with him and seeing him, like I put it this way, if if it was Chris who was catering to her and bringing her soap and this, that, and the third, I think she will be a lot more affectionate to Chris than she is Morier. What do you think with that?
I think you may be onto something. I think she's trying to create the connection. They like really develop the connection. But I still don't know if it's a mental attraction. I think it's a mental connection or a mental. They click
Oh, I see
on
what you're
a
saying.
mental
Hmm.
and communication sort of thing, and she's probably trying to see if that could grow into something. I do agree. I don't think she's physically attracted to Moray. I mean, the guy walked into the room and she just remained seated on the floor. That was wow.
Yeah, that was
I was like,
telling. That was telling.
that was really telling. Yeah, she couldn't even stand up, or she literally just sat there and was talking to him. Like, so I think if it had a Chris walked in, I agree. I think she would have been more appreciative. She probably would have, you know, shown a lot more, yeah, appreciation. So I think she.
So, do you think
I
it's
agree.
a friend? It's a an attraction on a friendship level or a romantic level?
That's what I'm seeing. I think it's on a like a friendship level. They communicate well with each other, they have a mental connection, and maybe she's trying to see if it could develop into a romantic thing. So I know with most men, you can correct me if I'm wrong, please do. Um, you know from the onset what you like or what you don't like. But for women, sometimes, that friendship can develop into something, or a guy you probably weren't physically attracted to, you could become mentally attracted to, and then the attraction can grow from there. So I
Yeah,
think she's
I
just trying
agree.
to like figure out, get a sense, or grow something there, or develop something there. But the physical aspect is throwing her off a bit. Like she
Right.
really seemed to get that spark going.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't see them actually developing into a solid relationship there. I can see a friendship, you know, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not necessarily buying it either.
Mm,
I think that I th- I think honestly, Jessica is heartbroken by
yeah.
Chris. I think
That,
she's
yeah.
heartbroken by Chris. I think she pictured herself with him at the end of this, but the
Mm,
problem is she don't know how she's messing up. She don't know she 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 just don't know how to move with a guy like Chris. And I think if it could have worked, I think she if she could choose a guy to get to the end with, I think she would have chose Chris. But Chris is
yeah.
just not feeling her, and I don't think she really gets why he's not feeling her. But he's given
Mm,
her every reason in the book. But I'm not really buying it with her and Morier. I think she probably is. I don't want to say using Morier just to get to the end, but um, we'll see. We'll see. But let me ask you this: who do you think went home, Jessica
um,
or Sierra?
Sierra. I think Sierra went home. You?
Okay, okay. Uh, let me ask you this: who do you
Mhm.
think Chris was cursing out at the end?
Let me just think. Jessica,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think you are 100% correct in saying Jessica was hurt. I do think she was hurt. And I think she could be using Moria. You're right. She could be trying to create the illusion of a relationship. and this is a mistake many women make, trying to make guys jealous sometimes, um, by maybe she thinks if she creates something with Moray, it's gonna get Chris a little jealous. If her and Moray connect and they laugh and she's catering to Moray. And I think that may repel her, or rather repel Chris more. Sorry, my English.
Hmm.
Am I making sense?
Yeah, you
That
know,
might
you are.
that may put Chris more off, right? And I think she's going to lose her, get frustrated, and ultimately maybe disrespect Chris in a way that really gets him put off completely. So that's what I foresee happening. I think she's going to try and get Chris's attention by working on this thing she has going on with Morier. Chris is probably not going to react because Chris has made up his mind. And then she's going to get frustrated and try getting Chris's attention. And she's going to get Chris's negative attention. And I think that's where Chris starts telling her, I don't know, he went off. I don't remember the whole dialogue, but that was a completely different side of Chris. I think it was
Right.
towards Jesse.
That was
Yeah.
now later on in the show. I noticed that, or we probably see it next week, but they put it in the previews with
Mm-hmm.
Janelle sticking up for Jessica. That's her girl. They the Wonder Twins. Okay, she
Mm-hmm.
was sticking up for Jessica. She said, you know, y'all need to chill out, calling people combative and stuff like this. And in the
Mm-hmm.
previews, Chris was like, you know, that ain't even worth talking about. Okay. Um, do you think that that's what Jessica was hurt by him calling her combative? Because it came from Morier at the decision making. But Jessica, both Jessica and Janelle feel like they're starting to get double and triple teamed on. So they kind of riding for each other. Let me ask you this. Do you think that Jessica can be combative?
Yeah, I do. I do. If you think back to what do they call it? They had this, it wasn't a monologue, they had an acting dialogue situation in one of the previous episodes. And the scene they had to recreate was her and Chris having had a car accident or something to that
Right, right.
effect.
I remember that.
And the first thing she did was it became like an accusatory sort of conversation. She didn't even ask Chris like, "Are you okay? We just had an accident." She was like, "What did she say again?" She said something
She
to the
was
effect
she
of,
he was like, "Well, do you think it could be your fault, or you know, because you had the radio up too loud, you think it could be your fault?" She was like, "Oh no, it was all yours. It's all your fault. You should have listened to me take a turn here, and we would have been there." And he was like, "Well, one thing that is my deal breaker is that I need someone who can, you know, work problem solve with me." And you know, that was Chris's deal breaker. You know, she didn't seem to really take any ownership in anything, and you know, he kind of noticed that in the improv. It was like, well, you know, I need a woman who's going to be able to, you know, do conflict resolution and problem solve with. So, you know, instead of arguing. Because here's the thing, I think they got into conversations on the phone where it got probably heated, and Chris is like, you know, I don't like her temperament. This is what I'm thinking. He don't like her temperament and how she resolve things. And when I seen that improv, I was like, I don't, I don't like it either. I don't like it either. I didn't like how she saw. Look, if I was on the show, I probably wouldn't act much different than Chris when it come to Jessica. I think Jessica is very attractive, very accomplished. this, that, and the third, but how she deals with men, how she conflicts resolve, and how she views herself and the value she puts on men is all bad. It's just all bad. She don't even realize how it is coming across, and a part of me feel like she don't even really care how it's coming across. I do think that that is Jessica that Chris is arguing with and he cursed out. And I think it's because she is combative. She probably is going to, first of all, she's heartbroken that he's not choosing her and he's not liking her, but she's not doing anything to fix that. She's actually making it worse. And that's why Chris probably finally boiled over and said, F you and everybody you talking to, probably was talking about Janelle, and y'all don't know me. F y'all. So he probably just got tired of it and boiled over. But I do think that's Jessica. He's cursing out. And I'd like to, I can't wait to see how it all comes together because uh, a lot of lessons can be learned by this, by women watching Jessica, because a lot of times women don't, and I'm not saying all, but I'm just saying a lot, especially Western women. All right, they just don't really either know or care how they're coming across to a guy. You can't win a guy's heart with vinegar. You got to win it with honey, sugar, sweetness. Okay, you got to win it and be soft and be feminine and be agreeable and be submissive. And a lot of Western women don't know how to do that anymore. They stuck in their corporate minds, and they just they think that that's the only way to resolve issues. You can't you can't bring that back home. You gotta hang your hat up when you walk in that door and come in as feminine as you left. And I think a lot of women just have a harder time shutting that off and still come off aggressive and almost as if they don't care. Like when I said, when I seen that she said, "Oh, I ain't gonna change just for no man," and this, that, and the third. I knew she didn't value men at that point. So don't no man want to be with a woman like that. What are your thoughts about all that?
Oh, that's really interesting, Mike. I agree. Firstly, yes, she is combative. I think I observed that as well. I'm just trying to think. Um, she just gives off a very hard energy, and like, she's
Yeah.
just really tough. And Chris's ex also picked up on that. She I don't think you're right. I don't think she values men because when Sierra tried to compete as well by calling Maria over, I don't know, she mentioned something. I'm not sure what her exact words were because I think she mentioned that she knows her price and she wouldn't ever drop her price or something to that effect. She said something really catty and
Right.
then she's like, she's not even gonna try. And I was like, ooh, like, I
Yeah.
don't think, and no offense, like, look, I understand why some of the women in the West are the way that they are. I completely understand. But I don't think they would survive in a place like Africa or South Africa because it is, if you aren't going to, like I said, like I have to emphasize that competition is rife. The moment you break up with a man here in South Africa, there's literally a woman waiting for you to dump your boyfriend. I don't know if that makes sense. It is literally, if you won't call Maria over, there'll definitely be a woman willing to call Maria over. Competition
Wow.
is rife. And one thing that's not, sorry, I always have to bring it back to where I'm from, just so that we could have like an exchange of insights. I'm hoping that American women won't take offense, or women in the West won't take offense, but rather like understand. And hopefully, if you are coming to South Africa and you want a South African guy, this is what you need to do. Like your strength isn't in your pride. It's in your humility. Like, I'm not saying be a doormat, but I mean, like, you can't be acting like a man. Men are cocky here in South Africa. They're the ones who are like, "Whoa, macho, macho." But they, like,
Mhm.
as women, you have to show up as a lot more like open and so, like, not open, but I mean, like, humble. Like, there's nothing wrong with laughing. There's nothing wrong with if Ciara's calling Moria, you could have moved over closer to Moria and
Right.
joined the. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, back to Jessica. Let me not go completely off track. She is a little hard, and I really feel sorry for her because it's frustrating her, and I can understand why. Because as you said, she doesn't know where she's going wrong. Um, I I think she needs help and guidance as well because I can respect Janelle in as much as she's aggressive with the women, she does try to come across as a lot more softer with the men. So I commend her for that. Um, so I think with Jessica, she really can't, she struggles with that. She's a, I think she's a sweet woman. I think she wants to be, or maybe she doesn't, but in order to get the kind of guy she wants, she's going to have to understand the value of the guy she wants to pursue her. And at this point, I think she's just really a lot into herself. Yeah.
Jessica need to go to South Africa, and you women can teach her a lot. Okay. I just like, I mean, it seems as though y'all get it as far as how the home is set up, the men role, the women role. And a lot of Western women can learn from a lot of African women. However, I do feel like some African women are turning Western mentality, but I still think that there are a lot more women in, like, Africa or even in the East that still hold on to some fundamental female and feminine traits that you really can't hold. It's hard for you to hold on to those traits here in the US because number one, you're not incentivized to. You're incentivized to be masculine, and number two, you're you work more in a corporate environment where um you kind of have to have a masculine mentality in order to operate in that corporate environment. But what the problem is a lot of women don't know how to turn that off in the West. They keep that corporate mentality that they got from either their school or their jobs, the careers. They see the money coming in, and then they keep that mentality. Well, that won't work with a family, and the government double downs and make it even more convenient for the women not to take care of their families or stay in their families. So there is no incentive to stay feminine. But that's just how it is here in the West. But Jessica, she could learn a lot from women in Africa. A lot of women could, not just her, but a lot of women, and not even just sisters either. I mean, white women, a lot of just Western women, period, can learn a lot from other women in other parts of the world. So, Quentin, he said he don't like to be single, and Kat said this brother is in the sunken place. Okay, what did you think when she said that? Like, blink two times, Quentin. You in the sunken place.
I think Kat was speaking to how possessive Janelle was with regarding Chris, what's his name, Quentin,
Mm,
and how Quentin was just letting her do it. Um, he wasn't. He's not taking any decisive action, or I don't see him. He, he's looking like he's under Giselle's thumb, like Giselle is controlling him. So I think maybe that's what Kat was alluding to by, blink, say something. So if you need help, because it looks like Janelle is has you on under some sort of arrest of sorts. So yeah, that's what I think Kat meant by that. But Quentin's acting funny. I'm not really sure. In one of your videos, you mentioned you think he may be a mole, and I completely agree because in the earlier episodes, so when I started ranking the guys, I did have a sneaking suspicion that maybe Quentin's not on the show for love, but to like win. I think that was what I said,
Right.
or to get to the end. He just isn't. I'm just not completely sold. There's something in the way he's moving that's a little inauthentic because I think Lee also mentioned this after her step class. Sorry, let me know if I'm moving ahead. But she did mention that it's really weird how Quentin is connecting with Janelle, but they barely have anything in common. He seems so happy exercising there and
Right.
engaging with Lee in her exercising world. What could she possibly have in common with Janelle? And it's pretty weird because there's no consistency in the sort of woman she likes. Like, I can see Lee having a lot more in common with Quentin's ex, but Janelle's just a real wild card. But I mean, he did say he hates being single, so maybe he's just sticking to Janelle because Janelle is sticking with him and he just wants a relationship for the sake of having a relationship. But that still doesn't make sense because he didn't want to be in a relationship with his ex. It's all not adding up. Like, it's not making sense to me, but
Exactly. And that's
yeah.
what I was saying with Quentin. I think I laughed when she said he was in the sunken place because I said episodes ago that I don't think this guy is real. I think there is some other kind of motivation behind him. So when she said it, it kind of, I want to say, it validated what I was thinking, but it kind of did because for you to be in a sunken place, something you ain't, you're not thinking logically. You're there's something else going on in the background. Now with Quentin, I just think the dude is, I don't think he's a bad guy, but I actually thought he's working on some type of acting career or something like that. I think it is about getting to the end with him. I'd be surprised if they're still together after the reunion or still together to today. Now, there's only one explanation for this. Only one. And that is that Quentin and Janelle smashed. Okay. Do you think that they took it to the next level and they had intimacies?
I can see that. I can see that. Janelle's acting crazy.
Janelle is
Quentin's,
acting overly possessive and he
which
is
is
acting like he's in a sunken place. The only thing that could explain that to me is if they smash. Um, what do you think?
you could be right. That's the only thing that would make sense, I think. Because they both acting really weird.
Right.
They both really acting whiplashed. Like they're not acting, nothing is consistent. So they probably did cross the line. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Janelle is the first to say, "Oh, well, I'm not gonna kiss anybody. I'm not gonna do this, that, and the third." But because when she met Quentin's ex, he said they didn't haven't even kissed yet. So it's kind of hard to believe that they would have smashed. But how they're moving is would only to me suggest that they're so invested in each other, they had to have taken it to a level that bonded them more than just being on a competitive dating show, right? Like we could see, like, I don't know if you watched last season with Tony and Morgan.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes, yes,
Okay.
okay,
And
yes,
Tony and Morgan really started to act a little funny when,
yeah,
and people was wondering, why are y'all still together, and why is it that y'all can't seem to get away from each other, where it turned out that they smashed. So
okay. I there.
everything started to make sense after that, right? Well,
Mm,
we seem to see the same scenario with, Quentin and Janelle. I'm not saying that they did. I'm not saying that they did, but that's the only thing that would help this make sense, because right now it don't make
mm,
sense why he's in a sunken place. It don't make sense. Either the only other thing is either they smashed or he's an actor. It's one, or and he's trying to win a competition, one something of that nature.
mm.
Nothing else seems to make sense, because she's not the most beautiful. She's not the most pleasant to be around. She's not the most agreeable. I think Quentin wants kids. She said she's probably not going to have kids. So why are you still with her? Herbert said she's a thug. Why are you still? And Quentin was there when he said that. Why are you still with her? In the lounge, Herbert said that she want to get married by the end of the year. Now he talking about he don't like being single. Your ex didn't say that. Your ex said
Yeah,
you were real comfortable being single. There's a lot of stuff that's not adding up.
yeah, yeah. I can see that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't get the relationship. You could be right, but I'm not buying it at
but if
all.
they smash, it makes sense. It starts to make sense, because they have bonded their relationship to the point where they are a couple, and you
Now
know,
they can one another.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, um, let me ask you this. Okay, let me say this.
Okay.
In another episode, I said that I suspect, and this is before this aired, I said maybe a couple episodes ago, I suspect that Sierra is bi. Okay.
Yes, I remember. Yes.
I seen how she was moving. I seen how she hugged, you know, Morier, and how she hugged his ex. So I kind of called her out, and then in this episode, she said that the question was, did you sleep with someone of the opposite sex? And she said, oh, yeah. And it was so great and it was so wonderful. I was like, God, I said, I'm so good at this.
Mike the Oracle.
Yeah, Mike the Oracle. Cause I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, that was crazy to me. But she also said some other things that I kind of predicted. I said that I didn't think that I said she's a baby mama. She's not going to make a good wife. She don't care about the marriage. She's going to take that baby, put you on child support, and yeah,
Yeah.
I said that. And I kid you not, in this episode, she validated practically all of that I was saying. She said
With
that she slept with another woman. She enjoyed it. She loved it. She said, but I can't do that and bring that home to my mother, because I can't have a baby that way. And I can't put you on child support. I said, psh, are you serious?
she said,
What do you think about that, though?
Sierra's moving mad. She is. I think she's definitely a great addition to the show. She's amazing comic relief. She was hilarious during
Yeah, she
the
is.
interaction between Kat and Janelle. She was like, "Damn, we in VH1." I cracked up laughing.
Yeah.
She's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love Sierra. We need her on the show just for comic relief.
I
But she
agree
is
100%. Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
But she is moving crazy. She is not on the right show. Um, and I think she's also going to be really frustrated by the outcome because maybe she is looking for love, but she's just not in the right, she's not self aware. Like, why would anyone want to be in a relationship with her? I just don't think she's had a moment to really reflect or figure out where she is and what she wants and why what she wants would want who she is and what she wants type of thing. I don't think she's self-aware because she is moving mad. Um, why having said what she said, what man in his right mind would think, that's my girl. We can have a relationship so that she can have someone to take home, so that I can marry her and she can claim what's they call it, child support should she decide to divorce me. Like she seems unconscious, like she's not aware of how she's coming across.
That's
She's
why
hilarious.
that's why I gave her her label, cool baby mama. Okay,
Cool baby.
she's not gonna be a wife. She's not gonna be a fiance. She want that baby, so she'll give you that baby. She'll probably put you on child support, and that's. So I was like, I was kind of patting myself on the back because I was like, in one sentence, in one scene, she just pretty much validated everything I was saying about her, and I was like, this is crazy. Again, I think Sierra is a cool chick, but a part of me. Now, here's the thing: I think she will get pregnant. She will be a
Mhm.
cool baby mama to you, unless she put you on child support. That wouldn't be very cool, but she'll do
Mhm.
that. But she still has a good sense of humor, and I actually think she would take that baby and she will raise it under a roof of two women. Okay. Her and her female lover will raise your kid. It's going to be one of those situations where I think she's going to end up with a woman, and
Sure.
but she wants that baby to reproduce herself, so to speak. You know,
Mm.
and I think her mother, and she's probably getting some pressure from her family to have a kid and this, that, and the third. But cool baby mama. But that's about it with Sierra. So yeah, I thought that
Interesting.
was interesting. Now here are some questions from the game that they were playing. All right. I
Okay.
want you to answer some of these questions. Uh is a woman body count important? Men said that they don't the men said that they didn't want to know a woman's body count. But is a woman's body count important?
Can I be honest with you? I probably would have kept quiet the whole game because I think my thoughts are a bit controversial, but especially in today's world. But yeah, a woman's body count counts a lot more than a man's.
Wow.
It just
Yeah. Now, uh, some would agree with you, some wouldn't. I'm a person who do agree with you. I think a woman's body count is important. Um, I think even more so than a man, because a man deals with intimacies different than a woman does. There's a woman gives off a little bit more oxytocin when it comes to and oxytocin, for those who don't know, is a chemical that your brain gives off as a bonding mechanism when you have intimate relations. Uh, and women tend to, now, the more partners they have, the less of that they give off, and the less of that that bonding mechanism they have to uh stay with a man. So that's why it's more important with women than it is with men. You know, sometimes I don't think that people want to accept the fact that men and women are different. Okay,
different. Like
you see what I'm
we're
saying?
just not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're just different. Let's all take a red pill. Let's face the facts, okay? And let's not try to pretend like we aren't different. We are different. I mean, equally, but we're still different.
exactly. Yeah,
So, you know, yeah, I personally think that body count does matter, especially with women.
I agree.
And that's just a lot of the guys said they didn't want to know what the woman's body count is. I think that's because it matters to them. But if they know, you know what I mean? If they know
It
what
would.
it is, then it's gonna mess with them. So I think it's just a matter of them not wanting to know, so it's not something that bothers them because they probably know
Mm.
a lot of these ladies got high body counts.
That's what I was thinking.
Right. Uh, Now, another issue that came up is they said, do you believe in gender roles in this game? So, what are your thoughts about that?
Um, yeah, I definitely believe in gender roles. In my virtue of us being different, we have different needs. We're human,
Mhm.
so on a very fundamental level, we want love, we want security, we want connection, but in very different ways. You know what I mean? And I think, yeah, we should, well, I agree in gender roles. I think that's just our natural way of being. And it's not a a way of oppressing anyone or harming anyone. These are just things that come more naturally to us and have been practiced from like when humans were still in the Stone Ages. It just came natural for men to be the hunters and for the women to be, gathering and connecting with other women and preparing meals. And it's just innate in our DNA. We're not the same, but we're human. And there's just
Right.
certain things that come more naturally to women than men, and certain things that come more naturally to men than women. I don't understand why that's so hard to understand.
Now, let me say this, Kitu, you're on a roll here, okay? Because I totally agree with you. I believe in gender roles too. I think we are um, different and we have different talents. Why wouldn't you want to assign different talents to the different people that best suits them? Okay, I'm not like, say for instance, in the Stone Age, right? And I know we're not in the Stone Age anymore, but I'm gonna just use this as an example. Why would I expect a woman to go out and do the hunting for the family if even if she kills a buffalo for the family to eat? How is she going to lug that buffalo back to camp? She don't have enough strength to lug a whole buffalo back. That some things are just innately men job and some things are innately women jobs. And
Our
I
muscle composition is different. Men are like physically stronger, so it would be easier for a man to carry like a buffalo or whatever versus a woman.
right. It would be easier for the men, even if they gotta, chop it up or whatever and do whatever they gotta do to bring the meat back. It's still so, and the thing is that we have technology and we've gotten such to a point where the roles are so gray now, the areas are so gray that people think that, you know, we can it almost seems to always lean one way though. It's and that way is a woman can do a man's role, but when a man try to do a woman role, he's shamed for it. So
Mm.
people want to get rid of gender roles, but really what they saying is I want to be able to do everything the man is doing. But like, say for instance, a man being a stay-at-home dad, you know how much ridicule he'll get here in the West for doing that?
Mhm.
Or a man
Mhm.
who is a housemaker or homemaker.
Mhm.
If a man don't have a job out in the world, even women won't respect him, but you know, they still feel like gender roles are
Not
equal.
at work.
Yeah, they a lot
Yeah.
like yeah, they still feel like a lot of women still feel like gender roles like we shouldn't have gender roles. Okay, well, that's not even an efficient way of doing things. If you look in any business and any corporation, they have
Mhm.
assigned roles for certain departments, right? For certain
Mhm.
people with certain skills. In the
Mhm.
corporations, you don't see everybody doing everything. Why is that? Because that's not an efficient way to run a business. You have
Mhm.
specialty people do specialty things. You have the engineers with their own department. You have the marketing with their own department. You have everybody with their own different departments. Why can't that be
Mhm.
in a marriage? Or why can't that be in a, relationship?
Mhm.
It is just a more efficient way of doing things. I'm not sure if my camera is tripping on me. I don't know what's going on with that, but um so yeah, I agree with you, Keitu. We're all specialists and we should do our specialty roles, and I think that it's just a more efficient way of doing things, you
Can I
know.
add an extra point? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sure. So I saw one of your videos. You had a debate, if you don't mind me bringing that up,
No,
with
go ahead.
one of the, well, an incredibly educated woman. I think Dr. I'm
Dr.
not sure.
Kafila, yeah.
Yeah, Pilar. Now, I love an educated woman. I love seeing women assume like doctor roles, but I had to. I beg to differ with her in some parts. She mentioned that she raises her son the same way she would raise her if a girl, or she had a girl. Unfortunately, because we're so different, and I think this is maybe something that's also affecting the way certain, not all, but some Western women are turning out, because many of them maybe are raised like little boys. Or not, maybe not like little boys. Oh my gosh, I don't mean to offend anyone, but maybe they're not being raised with um, as a young girl, maybe they're coming across as harder women. So here, I know girls are treated completely different to men. Okay,
Mhm.
girls are encouraged, and any South African girl, well, most, you're encouraged to stay home. You're encouraged to um, cook. You're encouraged to clean the house, and at a very young age. Let me tell you. And typically, it's advisable that if there's anyone who's going to give you a whipping, it's your mom. Your mom's going to kick your butt. And then with the men, the dad usually kicks the boys' butt, and he's really rough with the boys. I know the way my father is with my son. Like he will slap him, and but like with me, it's usually like I just need to present a problem to my dad and apologize, and we literally move on. Like, so we were raised very differently. Our engagement with our parents is also very different. Um, my brother, for instance, is encouraged to go out. Like when he was, when we were teenagers, he's encouraged to go and test his pursuing skills. Like, come on, like you can't get it. Like they encouraged to go out there and pursue. I don't know if that's making sense. And get rejected and like brush your shoulders and move on. And like they're encouraged to pursue. And then as a girl, you're encouraged to like learn how to take care of the house, take care of yourself, take care of the family, like from a very young age. I don't think my brother knows how to clean the house as well as I do, or how to wash dishes as well as I do. He can. That's not to say he can't, but I'm just saying he wasn't raised necessarily to do that. He was raised to go and conquer and like be.
Ex- exactly, and that plays a part in the gender roles.
Yeah,
Girls are raised differently than the guys or the boys, and they 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 develop talents that the boys just not going to be equipped with. Most girls are taught to cook and clean and do things domestically, and by the time the boys get older, they're taught other skills, other things, and how to go out and work and things like that. So that's why I believe in gender roles, because from a young age you are taught differently. And I know what you're talking about with Dr. Kafila and her raising her son a certain type of way. Uh, if she had a daughter, I think she would raise her daughter completely different than what she is her son. So,
I think so
but
too.
yeah, but I heard her out, but I thought that I'm not sure if I was in agreement with how what she was saying, because I was like, you're teaching your son this way, but if he was a girl, you would be teaching her something totally different. Let's just keep it real. You know what I mean? Um, Another thing is Morier said that he has never been in love. Is would that be an issue for you dating him, or would that be a deal breaker for you, or what are your thoughts about that? Morier, he's never been in love. Is that a plus or a minus?
Um, wow, I've never really thought about that, but said he's never been in love. Well, I need to know if he would know what love feels like. Has he ever been in
He
love?
don't know what love feel like. And when he told Sierra, she started to kind of understand him a little bit more. So I was kind of giving her props for that, because at least she was trying to understand where he was coming from.
Yeah,
But, you know, that could be a plus or that could be a minus. You could be the first person he actually falls in love with, but
exactly.
it could be a minus because you're not sure if he's even capable of falling in love. So it's a high risk, high reward type of situation. If you met a guy, and is that something that will be considered a deal breaker, or is that something that will actually be a plus in your eyes?
Wow.
Mhm.
Honestly, ooh, it would be. I don't know. I don't think it would be. It would be not a deal breaker, but it would definitely be a con from
Okay.
my side because, like you said, it's high risk, high reward, and I wouldn't be sure how to. Actually, it wouldn't. It definitely wouldn't be a deal breaker, but I'd be a little nervous moving forward. Like, how's this going to work? I'd obviously ask him, like, then does he even know what love is, or what would make him feel like he is in love? How does he know he's never been in love?
Mhm.
I'm
Well,
just trying to, yeah,
I guess if anybody would know, it would be him, whether or not he was in love before. He probably, maybe looking back on things, called it infatuation instead of love. I notice some
yeah.
people will do that. They'll be like, "Oh, that must not have been love because it didn't end in a certain type of way. So it must have just been infatuation." But yeah.
So it wouldn't be a red flag. I'd be interested to hear more. I'd probably want
But
to.
it definitely in your eyes is a con.
It
It's not a
is
pro.
because we're starting off. We don't know. Like, there's no point of reference. Yeah. Like, I'm not sure if you know what you're doing. Will you know when you're in love? Like, I. So as I'm saying, the only con is that we don't know. Like, There's no point of reference. I'd need him to know what him being in love would be. How does he know he wasn't in love in those previous relationships? What would him having been in love look like? So
Right.
that I can also feel like, okay, that's attainable in future.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
maybe
I,
that's
I, I
unrealistic expectations. Sorry. Mhm.
yeah, I agree. I could see how that could be a con because you don't want to waste your time with someone who's incapable of that. But like I said, it could be a reward because you could be the first person he actually fall in love with. Um, but it's a high risk, high reward type of situation. But yeah, definitely if it's a con, I understand why. Now,
Mhm.
when they were playing this game, Chris said something. He said, "I don't believe in equality." Okay, he said, "Men are leaders because they are less emotional." And Jessica did not agree with that. And he was like, he said, "Now, I don't believe that women should pay bills either. Okay, it's not just a one-sided thing. I don't believe that women should pay bills." And all of the women agreed to that. But which I
Yeah.
found very, very interesting. But he said that the he don't believe that men are he said he believed men are the leaders because they are less emotional. What were your thoughts about what Chris said? Do you agree with him? Do you agree with the women? And you disagree with what Chris said? And also when he mentioned the bills, they were all happy with that one. So it's almost as if there's like some sort of double standard in this whole scenario. What were your thoughts about this when you heard this from Chris and what he thought?
So I think it goes back to what you said earlier as well, that there's like a trend or a push on men being men, but women also being men to a great extent.
Mm,
So they want a man to be a provider, but he shouldn't be authoritative. Like he can't be uh,
right,
the
right.
the the authoritarian figure, which is contradictory to what they want. Like it's just confusing. It just messes the whole equation up. So I can hear what Chris is saying. It makes sense in a completely traditional world, but I think there is some compromises. Men do typically make better leaders because they're less emotional, the way their brains are, how they compartmentalize things. What I've observed in corporate is a man could have had a fight with his wife, but when he gets into the office, it's like business as usual, versus most of my female counterparts, if she's had like a really bad interaction with someone she loves, when she gets into the office, it is a bit shaky, like we could sense that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're women, it's tricky to separate our worlds. Our worlds are very much mixed. And Jordan Peterson would say like chaotic. And he was like he
Oh,
was taken to this.
you've been checking for Jordan Peterson, huh? Okay, that's
Yeah,
what's up.
yeah. So I agree with what Chris is saying, but whether they make better leaders, yes, they do because of their ability to separate work from home and emotions from work. Um, what else did you ask me? Do I?
With yeah, they were cool with the men paying all the bills. It seemed like a lot of women in the West, they want
Mhm,
all of the power to make all the decisions and they
mhm.
want none of the responsibility.
That's what I'm
Okay.
hearing. Yeah.
And that's really equivalent to what they all those women were saying. Yeah, we cool with you paying all of the bills, but we're
Mm,
going to be the boss. Like what where they get this concept from, I don't know. And you can't go up to a billionaire and say, "Look, You could buy my company for $100 million, but I'm still going to make all the decisions for this company. The billionaire
Yeah,
is
yeah,
going to look at you like, are you kidding me? Okay, I'm
yeah.
paying for everything. I'm making the decisions, period.
Mm,
You know what I
mm,
mean?
mm.
It's just at no other situation is that even realistic other than being in a Western relationship. Um, again, now there is a saying, I didn't come up with this saying, but this is a saying the culture came up with that women like, yeah, it was basically that women want the decision making of an adult and the responsibilities accountability of a child. Okay, and this is just Western women, they're not talking about other women in other countries, but that's how they view women in the West, is that they want all of the responsibilities of an adult, but only the accountability of a child. And what they mean by that is, if things go bad, they don't want to have to deal with it. But when it comes to making all the decisions, they feel like they should make decisions even more than even more than the man. And it's like it's 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 a reason why a lot of Western men are not happy in the West dealing with these women, because the double standards that they expect is just. I even
It's
experienced some of
unreasonable.
this. I even experienced some of this with Dr. Kafila. Shout out to Dr. Kafila. But sometimes I just feel like they kind of talk out of a lot of the women talk out of both sides of their mouth. Sometimes it's almost like, yes, we're independent, we're strong, we're this, that, and the third, and we don't really need a man. But if we get a man, he got to pay all the bills. He got to have all of the responsibilities. He got to open car doors. He got to be chivalrous. He got to do all of these things. So it's like,
Mm,
what would a man get out of even being with you? Really,
mm,
what would a
mm.
man get out of being with you? Because if he want to make decisions, he's better being single. If he want to
Completely.
save money, he's better being single. What is
Mm,
he
mm,
what is he going to get out of you? And you're a type of woman where you don't even know your duty. You don't even know to do even the littlest domestic things, cook, clean, things like that. You know what I
mm,
mean?
mm,
So what is a man going to get out of being with you other than a higher expenses and disrespect?
Okay, I can
You
see
know, see what
that.
I'm saying? Now, one thing, let me ask you this. Janelle said that women are helpmates, which I was
Mm.
kind of a bit shocked by, coming from Janelle. Okay.
Yeah,
The most, aggressive
compact.
woman on the show. Yeah. But she
Yeah.
said that women are helpmates, and we were made to carry the weight. And all of the women, even Kat said, I'm not carrying no man weight. Sierra said, I ain't carrying no man weight. What were your thoughts about what Janelle said and what the other lady said?
I think it's really unfortunate that that was the mindset there. I'm not sure if it was production, but I'm gonna take it based on what we saw. I don't think it's anyone's responsibility to carry. The thing is, the purpose of a partnership is to ease each other's load.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, the relationship is there for you to support each other. So in my weaknesses, I would expect my husband to, or my partner to, cover me and protect me. And it's my duty to also cover him in aspects where he is the weakest. Do you know what I mean? So we're both carrying each other's weight. There's no one carrying more weight than any, like, we, I don't think there's anything wrong with carrying your man's weight, provided he's going to carry your weight when you need him to. We carry each other's weight here. And
Right.
that's the benefit of being in a partnership. So I think the benefit of being in a partnership is that you share each other's weight. So I don't think there's any shame in carrying someone's weight, provided there's a mutual understanding that we're doing this together. Both of our weight we are carrying together, because that's the benefit of a partnership. It's
Right.
shared weight. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You share weight. You help each other out. That's the whole point of being in a relationship. Um, but some women don't feel like they have to really. It just seemed to me like I swear it's so one sided. It's so one sided in the West, and the women like there's a question out there that's asked to women, and there is, what do you bring to the table? And I
Okay.
tell you, in the West, women can't answer this question, and the reason they can't answer this question is because they don't think they have to bring anything. I'm not saying this is all Western women. I'm just
Mhm.
saying it is too many Western women that think that they don't have to bring nothing. Their answer is, I am the table. Okay. I think that
Okay.
that is absolutely ridiculous. I think the table is the relationship. What do you bring to the relationship? You are not the relationship. Okay.
'Cause then you can just stand there by yourself and just be your table. Just
Exactly. And be your own table. Okay. And but that's what we're dealing with in the West. So I was a little bit surprised that Janelle kind of, I guess you could say, understood that assignment a little bit, even though she's mad, aggressive. She said, "Look, we are helpmates. God made us here. Like, if you're a religious woman, why don't you accept the fact that you are a helpmate? You know." Um, but I just think that it kind of speaks to how the Western culture is going these days. But I was a little bit surprised by Sierra's response, Cat response. Sierra really kind of uh revealed herself a lot in this episode, in my opinion. She kind of
a
revealed
lot.
a lot more of herself in this episode because we didn't really get to see much of her in other shows.
Mhm.
So a lot more of her personality started to come out. She started to confirm a lot of stuff that I was thinking about her. But it is what it is. I still don't think she's a bad woman. I got to learn more, a little bit more about Kat. One thing I like though is that on these retreats, you really get to see more of their personality because they're all in the same area, right?
Mhm.
So you get to see more of the women's personality, you get to see more of the men personality, and you get to see things come out in the open that probably would have got edited out in other times. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's one thing I do like about the retreat. You really get to the nitty gritty of people personalities. But would you say you would agree with Janelle, is that the women are the help meets, and that everything that she said, or what do you
So
think?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I completely agree with Janelle, and I think I probably would have also added that um, what she failed maybe to add was that in her faith or in Christianity, everything was done with a purpose behind it. There's a lot of intention around everything. The reason that man needs women is there's also intention behind that. Men and women need each other, right? And maybe she could have elaborated more on why the woman's the support. And because I felt like there was just a whole lot of tension, then it blew up. I probably would have kept quiet
Mhm.
because sometimes it's not really worth explaining certain things because people, when once they've made up their minds, it's very little you can do, especially in an audience, to try and convince them otherwise. But I probably would have further added that there's a reason why. things are the way that they are, and that we need to. I probably would have added the fact that the support goes both ways. You want someone who's going to provide for you, then you need to provide the space for the person to provide, sort of thing. Like, there's just intention behind everything. People don't just get into a relationship for dating. You date with a purpose to ultimately get married, and then you get married to ultimately bring up a family or create a family within the confines of a family unit. Everything has purpose. And then you have children. And those children you bear so that they can continue your legacy, right? And then you raise those kids with purpose as well so that they can not just be random humans, these are your offspring, right? And you pass on your traditions so that they can be a certain caliber of people. There's purpose in every single thing. There's intention in every single thing. As
Mm,
a woman, you're not a man. You are a woman for a purpose. So I think them always talking about I'm not carrying any weight, that was pretty ignorant, but I wouldn't be trying to change anyone's mind at that point. Because I probably would have just said yeah.
yeah, and that's what a lot of the guys did. They just kind of sat there. And some of the women, some of the other women sat there too. But you know, people, I noticed they're always going to kind of make things or perceive things for their benefit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And what I mean by that is you're religious and you're a Christian until you have to be a wife, and then you're not going to help carry no weight for no man and all of this. But when a religion works for you, oh, a man has to be a provider. Oh yeah, he could pay all of the bills. He could do all of this. He could that part I benefit from. But when it come to being submissive, I don't want to. Now I ain't a Christian now. Now I don't want to believe in that part of it. You see what I'm saying?
I
Um,
see.
and it's just kind of frustrating when people pick and choose parts of either their religion or just their belief system on things like you know uh, you know like Chris said, look, I think men are better leaders, but I also believe that they should pay the bills. With a lot of uh I guess you could say power comes a lot of responsibility, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
So if you are the leader of that house, yeah, most of the financial load is going to be on you as the man. But
Mm,
men don't try to, a lot of times, I think it's thunderstorming here. A lot of men don't try to separate they take the good with the bad. Okay, yeah, I know I'm gonna have to be a leader for this household, but I also acknowledge that most of the financial responsibility is on me, and I'm willing to accept that. A lot of Western women, they want that that benefit part of it, but they want to be leader of the house, but they don't want to pay most of the bills. So it's something that we in the West are still trying to figure some things out. Like I said, a lot of the women in other parts of the world don't move like that. But I'm not necessarily blaming Western women either because the society is set up this way, the laws are set up this way, the industries and are set up this way, so they're kind of forced to move in the way that they're moving, and it
mm,
benefits them to do that. So I'm not even necessarily blaming Western women, but uh, we are we are not doing very well when it comes to families in this type of setup, and we have to get back to families. Otherwise, this place is going to be extinct pretty soon. So, uh, any uh, any other words you have to say about RTL or what I said?
I completely agree. And yeah, I hope things change with time. I think there's still hope for, things to evolve. But there's definitely an agenda. Women, I can see, are being encouraged to be everything but women. You're encouraged to be a baddie or an independent woman. Like that's
Exactly.
what you see is being pushed commercially everywhere, right?
Exactly.
Uh, it's very seldom that you see a beautiful black woman in an ad, cooking and loving on family and married. It's
Right.
typically just the mother figure or a boss chick or a baddie
Hmm.
or a city girl. Like that's what's being pushed a lot of the time. So I'm hoping that there's a greater awareness of what we need in our society. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get back to families, y'all. Let's get back to the families loving each other and knowing our roles in that family dynamic. Okay. If you're a man, be a man. Okay. And that comes with some responsibilities. If you're a woman, be a woman. That comes with certain responsibilities. And if you're kids, be kids, play your role, and that comes with responsibility. So let me ask you, which couples do you think are going to, I guess you could say, make it or at least make it to the reunion still being together?
Aries and Phil. That's it.
That's
Just
it.
those two.
That's it.
That's pretty much
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah. I would have to agree with you. I don't think Janelle and Quentin is going to last. I don't think either Morier or Jessica or whoever is going to last. What other one is there?
Yeah, I think it's Janelle Quitten. No, Kat
Chris,
is definitely going to be
Chris,
dropped.
yeah, Chris, and Chris is talking to Lee now, so I don't think that's gonna last either. Or he's trying to talk to Kat and Lee, trying to make some new connections. I think it's a little too late. So yeah, maybe only uh Phil and Aries can get to the reunion still being together.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think you're
You
right.
mentioned, sorry,
No, go ahead.
I think you mentioned in one of your review videos that Chris needs a wife from Africa, and I was like, not necessarily. I think though he could do so. I know in pop culture, so I really used to like a lot of American television. You guys have some really nice reality TV shows, like Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
There's a
Oh
lady
yeah.
named Portia. She was really ditzy.
Mm-hmm.
She
Mm-hmm.
is like Chris needs a housewife. He needs if just a woman who isn't prideful, who is just ready to drop her career as a nail technician or whatever, and just be wife. All ditzy and happy to cater to her man who goes to work, makes the money, and gives her the life she desires. So if there's such a woman in the States, I think Chris would thrive with such. Just a happy, like, wife material. That's what Chris is. Not necessarily, she may not be African, because I know, like, it goes back to what you mentioned last time that there are certain fundamental needs that both men and women want. And I think some men want those a lot more than others. Like they're uncompromising. And Chris is one of those. Like he's a traditional man. My father was also like that, well, is like that. And my mother didn't work for a long time, and she's a professional. So, you know, if they need just a woman who's willing to be a wife. That's
I think that woman is in Africa.
it.
I still think she's in Africa. I still think that he has a better shot of finding a more traditional woman in Africa. He's Nigerian, right? So
Right. Okay.
uh he is looking for his mother, okay? And what I mean by that is he's looking for a woman who took good care of him like his mother did. Um,
Mm,
but I told, I said I told Chris, but I didn't tell him directly. I'm just saying that Chris, you need to recognize that uh, you have to give back, bruh. You can't have a situation where this is a mother-son relationship where she's taking care of you, and I said that before this episode aired. So when he said a man needs to pay all the bills, that told me he was willing to do his part in being the man of this relationship. But I think that he needs a more traditional woman. And here's what I found out. Not all. I have to make this disclaimer all the time. It's annoying to me, but not all Western women, but too many Western women, when they are housewives, they become super bored with being housewives.
okay.
Okay. They become so displacent with being housewives to the point where they, even if they have a guy like Chris who is paying all of the bills, doing what he's supposed to do as a man, they still are going to find a way to get out of the marriage. And the reason they're going to find a way to get out of the marriage is because the Western culture incentivizes them to find a reason to divorce him so he can pay to her alimony or child support or both. And he's going to end up being single.
Mm,
And it is knowing it's getting to a point where it's not incentivizing men to even risk getting married or having kids anymore.
mm,
I think that he needs a African woman who knows the assignment, is okay with her man taking care of all of the bills and being the man, and she's going to take care of all of the traditional roles of being a woman, and she's not going to be bored by it. Because here's what happens.
mm,
Western women see their Western friends, their girlfriends on Instagram, social media, stuff like that. They get a lot of peer pressure from their friends. And then they
mm,
start becoming bored with their married life. They see their girlfriends going to trips to Cancun. They see their girlfriends, you see what I'm saying? They see their girlfriends living it up or on OnlyFans, or they see their girlfriends dating all kind of men.
mm.
And that is exciting to them. So the married life becomes a bit boring to them. So it's
Okay.
like, so there's no incentive for them to really stay in a marriage. This is why a lot of men are done with Western women because we can't build no family with them. That's how a lot of men think. Like we can't build no family with no Western women because all it's going to do is end in a disaster. We need a more traditional woman to be with, who understands the assignment, who is okay with being a housewife, and we are more than happy to do our part as a man. We understand that we have to be uh, not sole providers, but majority providers. Okay, and that's where we are in the West. It's really getting to a point where even if Chris found a woman in the West who done all of that stuff, at some point it's going to end, just like it did with his ex. His ex was everything you were talking about. His ex
Mm,
was taking good care of him. His ex was understanding, but at some point she was like, "Look, I can't keep doing this." And I get it. She needed to have him pour it back into her.
yeah,
And I don't think any woman on this show is better for Chris than his ex. Okay.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, his ex was the best woman for him on the entire show. What he
Mm,
needs to do is, if he's really serious about being married, he needs to go ahead and revisit that situation and see if he can get back in with her and just move
mm,
differently and give her more of what she was asking for.
mm, mm.
But if he can't make it work with her, he needs to go back to Africa. He needs to go back to Nigeria, maybe even South Africa, maybe even anywhere where there is a woman who is just more accepting of his, because he's a traditional man, is what I'm saying.
You touched on a very a point that's very topical here. So there was a huge debate around. Well, many Nigerian guys date South African women, and it's caused a lot of drama down here. So you may be up
Really?
to something. Yeah. Um, I think though it's a bit cynical. I don't think you should check that conversation out because many of the Nigerian women claim that South African women are transactional. They just date Nigerian men for the money, and they like it created a huge debate because a lot of the Nigerian guys come and date South African women. But like I think from a cultural perspective, it works in some instances because some women really don't mind. I would mind though. I wouldn't want. I think it's concerning that Chris is not willing to support his wife. Like it's just complete servitude towards him. I think there should be some give and take. I think.
Yeah, there definitely should be some give and take. Chris needs to give more to her, his ex, whatever she was asking for. Go back to her
Yeah,
and give her more of what she was asking for. I think it could still work. And she was
yeah.
better for you than any other chick on the show. So you might want to revisit that. But let me say this. Um,
Mm.
okay, so I noticed that too. I noticed a lot of Nigerian guys I seen some videos where some Nigerian guys were going to South Africa. South African women seem to love Nigerian men too. Okay. Yeah. And that's not, that's all over the continent. That's all over the continent. I know some, Ugandan women who love Nigerian men. I know some, Kenyan women who love Nigerian men. Nigerian men seem to be more generous with their wallet. They seem to have more money than most other African men, to be honest. Except I don't know about South African men, but Nigerian men just seem to be a little more, you know, kind of catering to their men than other African men. They seem to be a little bit of a an anomaly, and a lot of women all over the continent seem to like Nigerian men. Um, from what I've seen some African, like I said, I've seen some South African women, but like they will ask these women, what man do you want? And a lot of them say Nigerian men. They don't say American men. They don't say South African men. They don't. They say Nigerian men. So I've seen the trend, and here's what I want women to understand, and this is very important. Okay,
Mhm.
men all over the world are are now willing to travel to find their woman. Okay, if what I want women to understand is that there is competition, okay, for your men. The US have came up with passport bros. Um these men are
I'm,
willing. What's that?
I'm curious to hear more about that. I've seen that online, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, the US
interesting.
came up with passport bros. It's a group of guys who decided to find their wife in another country. Okay.
Sure.
They're done with the Western culture. There seem to be some Nigerian men who are willing to travel for a woman. There seem to be European men willing to travel for another woman. What women need to realize is, first of all, there's more women than men. Let's start there. Second of all, there are a ton of men especially in the West, who are fed up with how things are going as far as relationships. They're just done with it. They're willing to and they're willing to be without marriage. They're willing to be without kids if that means giving them more peace of mind. What women need to start understanding is that you have to compete for the best men all over the
Yeah.
world. There are a lot of women in Southeast Asia who are willing to give men what they're wanting. They have traditional ways. There are a lot of women in Africa willing to give men what they want in traditional ways. There are a lot of women in South America willing to give men what they want. Okay. This is going to be a competitive market. A lot of women who are even watching this show, you have to start thinking like Jessica was making that plate. Okay. You can't have the mentality of a Sierra thinking that men are supposed to be chasing you. Forget about that. Those days are gone. Okay. It is a competitive market out there. And if you want the best man, and this is what I love about RTL, it's a microcosm of what's going on in the world. The numbers, there are 6 women to 4 men. That's a good measurement as for what's real in this world, in this country, in this world. The men have to choose. That's a realistic thing in this world that we live in. And women, you have to compete. Men are not going to be chasing after if the numbers are in their favor and you're not showing them any interest. Okay? You can't be Sierra minded. You have to be more Jessica minded. You have to be a little a little bit more Janelle minded, meaning kind of protect the man that you got. And I ain't saying being rude about it, but I understand Janelle. She has abandonment issues, and she don't want a more beautiful woman coming to steal her man. So she's more protective. I get where she's coming from. I just don't like the way in which she does it. But that's another story. I'm not saying she has the wrong idea about what the woman's assignment is either, and the gender roles and things like that. And the woman is a helpmeet. She's not all wrong about everything, but she just has a rude way of going about things that I don't agree with. But I want women, everybody watching this, to realize the new dating market that's out there. You have passport bros, you have men going their own way, you have all of these things. And I'm gonna tell you something. Women can't do this. Women, I'm not saying that women can, okay, women can't necessarily be passport sisters because it doesn't work for women. Okay? It just doesn't work for women. And the reason it doesn't work for women is because women expect, like, say here in the United States, there's few to none, no countries more richer than the United States. Okay? Women are hypergamous by nature. You can't be a passport sister and go someplace else and expect a man to be in a better financial situation than what you got here in the West, in the United States. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if it can't work, it can't work the same way. It can't work the same way. Now, men aren't asking for women to make more money than them. That's why it's beneficial for them to go to other countries because all they want is a traditional woman. Men and women ask for different things from each other. That's why passport bros is a win for men and it's not for women. The best men that women can choose from in the United States is actually still here in the United States because their hypergamous nature needs them to find a man who is doing even better than them financially. What better place are you going to do that than in the place that you're already in? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now, um, I just want women to understand that they have to start viewing this a little differently, being more competitive, correcting the culture as far as giving a man what he wants, and I'm gonna just say it: stop being lazy. Stop being lazy, and because I think a lot of it is based on spoiledness, laziness, entitlement, and that's why a lot of women are detracting from being traditional women in the United States because they are a bit spoiled. Everybody's a bit spoiled here in the United States, and
Mm-hmm.
we even the men, and we need to all really check ourselves because uh our families are suffering because of it.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about all that?
I think you hit on all the important points, Mike. Thank you so much. I think it would be nice as well. I think what I've observed is that women are having conversations that should be had by women in private spaces on public forums. And that's also creating tension between men and women in the West. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is another observation I've picked up on. Like, um, I think it would be nice if you guys adopted a more separating men from women, and as well as shared certain things. Like there's certain things only men can share with men. There's certain things only women can share with women. But what I found is that now that all that information is being placed on public forums, people are starting to think they can do what men can do, and women are starting to think they can. I mean, men are starting to think they can do what women typically do when in the whole dance of a relationship, right? So that's one thing I've picked up on. Another thing, I agree with what you're saying that the market is intense. Like it is crazy out here. Women are competing. There is and I wish more of, I'm not speaking about all Western women, but some Western women are taking it as an attack. They don't really like correction. They take
Mm-hmm.
certain things like if you say, women from Asia are a lot more submissive, whatever, then they start taking it as an attack. And I think this is the opportunity to rather replicate or learn from other cultures and try and simulate that so that they can win. Like there's opportunity to learn from other traditions, right? The information is there. What was another thing I wanted to add? It's not too late to change or to learn. I just feel like the few women who are willing to change, if they just made the small changes, they would stand out significantly from the pool
Well,
of women. So I think now is the time. And I also wish elderly women, so the older women, would also try and enforce like traditional values in the younger women. I don't see a lot of that happening. Instead, I find like older women acting really weird. So I started watching this other show, the Kendra show, and you get people like 50-year-old women calling in there, and it's weird. I've never. there's just a certain way you need to carry yourself at a certain age in your life as a woman or as a man, and I'm not seeing that. It's scary because they're supposed to be passing on certain insights and wisdom to younger generations, and I'm not seeing that. That's scary. And I also heard, sorry, do we still have time?
No, yeah, go
um,
ahead.
in your interview with the doctor, she mentioned, it's okay. Women love men differently from generation to generation. And I was like, no, it's not okay. The reason that they're loving men differently from generation to generation is because you're not teaching them things from generation to generation. My mother can walk
Right.
into my apartment now and shout at me and tell me, it's 6 o'clock. Why don't you have pots on your stove? What kind of a wife are you? Like, she will snap. So like, I don't see enough like women of a certain age disciplining other women. Um, and I don't see women my age or younger women being receptive to correction either. It's a bit that respect thing. Another thing, sorry, just one more point as well. I've heard like a lot of women speak of, I'm submissive on the Kendra show as well. And they'd be like, I'm submissive. And I'm like, to me, submission is not something you can gauge from yourself. It's like honesty. You can't tell people, I'm honest. That's for whoever you are being honest with to determine. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So you can't be like, I'm submissive. That's for whoever you're submitting to determine. I would much rather, as a guy, look for a woman who's like, I respect authority or I respect a man's role in my life type of
Hmm.
thing, as opposed to I'm submissive, because now that's the key word. But then you hear them interacting with Kendra, and when Kendra's correcting them, they're like, no, I'm not like that. And it becomes like a back and forth, and you're like, are you really submissive? Really?
Right.
Are you?
Right. Right.
So
You're
things like that I find a bit odd. Yeah.
you're on fire. You're on fire. Okay. You're
Yes.
you're on point with everything that you said. I agree 100%. And yeah, there are some, a lot of Western women who are not really correcting the younger age. I think that there is just a lost art. I think the older women are the boomers and the Gen X's, and they don't even think that. So it's not something they're going to correct. It's harder to correct uh, the younger generation. The younger generation are winning by acting a certain type of way because they have more access to ways of making money now. So you can't, even if they did try to correct them, you can't tell the younger generation nothing here in the West. That's why the culture is corrupted right now. It's like a file that's been corrupted. It's first, and but you are right. They don't try to correct each other. But even if they did, it won't hold up because at the end of the day, uh, the younger generation are benefiting off of not listening, and that's why it's hard for men here to find a woman to want to settle down with or have a family with, because there is no incentive to do that, and they're just not listening to the men, to the women. They're not listening to anybody. The only person they listen to is whoever is going to write them a check. That's it. Whoever is going to get them some money. So yeah, I agree with what a lot of what you said. There was something else you said too that I agree with, but that's kind of where we are in the West with a lot of our dating, marriage. It's a lost art, and I don't blame the women for it. I don't blame the men for it. I blame the government for it, because they put things in place, and they have certain type of laws that make it so that uh it incentivizes ways of making money. It doesn't incentivize families, love, things like that, especially in the West, in the United States, wherever the man is in power of the culture. And what I mean is the Caucasian man, wherever he is in power, the women are going crazy. I'm gonna just be honest. Okay. And a lot of women love those cultures because it gives them. Now, I'm not saying that they should women should be, oppressive or anything like that, but I'm saying it shouldn't be so easy to destroy families. But the main thing that a lot of those countries respect is the dollar bill. They respect that more than families. So that's why it's they're now let me say this. Some of the laws are changing. Okay. Some of the laws are changing in the West because they're starting to see a problem themselves. They're starting to see a problem with, let's just say, getting rid of kids, deleting kids. I can't say the actual word, but if a woman don't want a pregnancy, she, terminate. Okay. Um, they're starting to change that. That was Roe versus Wade. Now the next bill on the docket is they're trying to get rid of no fault divorces in the West. And no fault divorces mean you can get a divorce without there even really being a problem. Well, they want to get rid of that law because it's too easy to get a divorce. And women have weaponized marriage. They have weaponized kids, they have weaponized marriage. So a woman will marry say for instance, a rich guy. She'll divorce him for no reason. And next thing you know, he has to hand over half of his wealth to this woman. And this has become a side hustle for women. So men have recognized this and they said, look, it's not an incentive for me to even get married. Now, what's happening is the marriage rate has been plummeting in this country. There are bridal shops going out of business because men aren't marrying these women anymore. Okay? And it's affecting the marriage rates. So now they're trying to change some laws to try and make the deal a little more sweeter for the men, because what they're noticing is that it's affecting the economy. It's affecting the economy in a certain type of way. Now, the divorce and the child and all that, those courts are doing just fine. But the marriage, the whole marital industry is suffering in the United States. There's a place called David's Bridal. David's Bridal is one of the biggest wedding places for brides to go to get their dresses and things like that. Where they're going out of business. Okay? And this is one of the biggest ones in the country. And you look at the marriage rates, they're plummeting not only because of the men, but because women don't even want to get married. So it's not even just the men, it's the women too. Well, what's going to happen if you stop marriages? In a lot of ways, it's going to affect population, right? Because people aren't going to want to have kids if they're not married. So what happened is a lot of the Caucasian people seen that their population was decreasing. So they said, we got to do two things. We got to stop women from getting rid of pregnancies, and we got to stop women from leaving marriages so easy. So they're starting to change the laws here in the United States to prevent that stuff because it is becoming detrimental. We're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot with all of these laws. So So that's what's happening right now. And not only that, but it's causing all the men to detract and go other places and find brides in other places. So
Wow.
I said that I don't blame the men. I don't blame the women. I blame the laws, and the laws are starting to change back. But uh, we'll see if that's enough. We'll see if that changes the culture. We'll see if it gets to a point where men and women are able to come back to the table and be a family again. But
Mm,
only time will tell. What do you think?
I completely agree. It sounds like the law is really influencing a lot of what is needed. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Um, sounds bleak, sounds scary, but I'm hoping that with awareness, things will change. Yeah.
Yeah, and it does sound that way. It sounds bleak, and it's that's because it really is getting to that point. And you know, when they see that they're not reproducing at the numbers that there should be, they start to panic a little bit, and they say, "Look, we got to look at these laws, and why aren't our people reproducing at the same rate as everybody else?"
Mm,
For the most part, black people pretty much stayed the same in their rates. Hispanic people, their rates went up. Asian people, I believe theirs went up. I think theirs percentage wise, I think theirs went up the most. Uh, they have the least amount of people, but theirs went up the most. Hispanic people were right behind them, and then black people were in third place as far as reproducing, and Caucasian people were in last place. So
mm,
now if it were the if it were the opposite way, where black folks were the least amount, and white folks were the most, it probably wouldn't change anything.
mm,
But since it's their people, they like, nah, we gotta keep the majority, this, that, and the third. So we gotta change some laws. But we'll see how things go. Um, it's just like I said, RTL is a microcosm of what's really going on in the world. I want everybody, men and women, to pay attention, because this is not just a TV show. This is showing some real life, and
mm,
how people really think, and how sort of divided we are. Like, we only got one couple. You had 20 people on this show, and we only got maybe one possible couple.
yeah.
That's a microcosm of what's going on, So we need to be paying attention, you know.
Mm.
So what are your thoughts about that?
I agree, Mike, and I think it goes both ways. So I think, in as much as we're hoping that, yeah, it goes both ways. It's definitely when black women aren't being traditional, it's affecting the black man, and if the black man is not, so I think it goes black both ways. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So I think it's definitely something that I think the whole community should be proactive in trying to change. Um, yeah, and let's change the whole narrative around black people or the black community in the West. I know it's hard given that media, the biggest, I'm not sure what they're called, the biggest, most black people aren't televised in the best light always, but I think it would be nice to push not just black love but black families, because right
right,
now there's a whole black love drive, and yes, there are couples, but how long do those last? How secure
right.
are those? How solid are those unions, right? So maybe we should go for something more aggressive and more solid, like black families. and change the whole perspective or narrative or picture that's painted of the black person across the world.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. I I'm
I,
a I'm a make a confession here. I got pretty frustrated with I I I got pretty frustrated with the dating scene here in the United States. Okay. I'm I'm divorced, you know, and I got frustrated with things. So I started looking elsewhere, you know.
mhm,
Um First place I looked was the motherland in Africa. Okay. And I found me a woman who I almost married in Uganda. You know,
mhm,
I wanted to try and you know keep it in the family, so to speak, or keep it black love, and went there and found her and you know had a good time. I really enjoyed a lot of her traditional ways. I also seen though how she was being affected by the West.
yeah,
Our internet and our TV, her favorite show, and she's in Uganda. Her favorite show
mhm.
was what was it? The Doctors. What's that TV show with all female doctors?
Oh yes, married to
Married to
medicine.
Medicine. That was her joint, boy. And I was like, okay. And the love and hip hop stuff. She wasn't really a big fan of that, but she loved them educated black women and married to medicine. And I say all that to say that our culture, the Western culture, is slowly affecting my African ladies, and a part of me kind of feels sad about that because a part of the reason why I reached over to Africa is because I love more of the traditional mindset of the cultures. You know what I mean? The community upon which y'all raise kids. It really takes a village to raise a child, and y'all have a village that raises. That's another thing. In the United States, we don't have a village. Okay, we have one
Mm,
household, and that barely holds water. And in
mm,
Africa, all of the women, you don't have to be the mother, the birth mother, to school your younger girls on on how to move and how to be a wife and how to be a productive female in society. Y'all get advice from everybody in y'all village. We don't do that. We don't get that in the United States. And that's why it's harder for to hold these young ladies accountable because baby boomers ain't doing it. Gen Zs ain't doing it. I'm sorry, Gen Xs ain't doing it. So we don't have a village. I was told by my ex that she was taught how to be a wife very early in life by
mm,
her elders. Her elders
mm.
taught her to be a wife.
Yeah,
They don't teach that in the United States. See what I'm saying? As a
I
matter of
think one
fact,
thing.
the only
Mhm,
thing they teach young girls here in the United States is what to be afraid of and what not
mm,
to deal with and what not to tolerate. They only teach the negative side of being a woman here. They don't teach
mm,
them to be anything, I'm gonna just say valuable to men. They don't
mm,
a lot of ladies here don't have lost the art of cooking, lost the art of cleaning, lost the art of supporting their man,
mm,
lost the art of a lot of stuff. That's why you see a lot of beautiful women on RTL. Shouldn't be this many single women out there.
mm, mm.
But you got some of the most beautiful. You got a person like Kat, like you got to start asking yourself, what kind of, it ain't looks, They got the looks. So what's going on? Like you said, there's some beautiful women in America. You loved Tamara. You thought she was nice on the Love Experiment.
All of those three ladies are
Yeah. Yeah,
beautiful.
love Tamara, Paige, Mars. Okay. Why are these women chronically single? Is because they're always asking for something and I wouldn't say they're always, but a lot of them are asking for something and a lot of them aren't giving anything. That's why a lot of these women are single, in my opinion. So,
So
yeah. What were you going to say?
I completely agree with you, and I think that's why I'm also hoping that things will change in the West because of the reach of y'all's influence.
Yeah.
Because I think ultimately, if especially the Black American culture, you guys have such a huge influence on the world. And I think that's why it's targeted by whoever the PR machine is, because they know if they could change the Black American community, they could literally change the world. They can mess up the whole world
Yeah.
through literally
Yeah.
through Black American culture. Because I'm telling you, even my mom, she's a pretty traditional woman, but she used to listen to a lot of like Black American music. And I mean, like, your culture is so infectious, like, and your reach in terms of influence is major. It's across the world, not just
Hmm.
Africa. So I think that's why I'm praying or pushing for the Black Americans to win and to evolve and to really do better. More so, I mean, we have our traditions here, but I just feel like if you guys do well or change, it's going to influence ultimately feed back into Africa. It's
Yeah.
going to feed
Yeah.
back into the world. It's going to feed back into the Black community. So, um,
I agree with that 100%. And it's funny that you say that. Let me be honest. I mean, we could talk about this on another show, but
okay, cool.
a lot of people feel like a lot of African Americans feel like they wish that, Africa would have reached out to us more. We could probably build something big, but we kind of feel like um adopted kids, so to speak. We do have a lot of influence, and we know we have a lot of influence, but uh, sometimes we feel like even some of our African family don't really respect our struggle, don't know our struggle as far as slavery goes, and if they do know about us, they don't want to be connected to us. Even some that come from Africa to the United States, they separate themselves from African Americans because uh, they view this as the Caucasian man land, and they want to do whatever it takes to please them instead of merging into. And some of them are even told not to integrate with the Black Americans. Um,
Okay.
yeah, they're told not to integrate with the Black Americans because they don't want to uh, be associate. Well, if you got black skin and if you look African, you're not going to be treated any different than us. So that's the African American message is we're and I'm not saying it's all just one way. Okay. There are some African Americans who just don't really rock with Africans. That's some stuff that we gotta really fix. Um, you know, we gotta really fix that because that's ridiculous. Okay. I went to Africa to find my next wife because I associate myself with being African. Okay. That's just how I move. I'd rather call myself African than American. I am an American, don't get me wrong, but um I go to the bloodline and the culture. That's just how I move.
Okay.
Some African Americans view themselves more as American than African. To each their own. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but I look at us as one big family. Okay. So I was like, look, if I get another wife, I still want a sister, but I want one with her, a different mindset. And I'm going to Africa, and for all intents and purposes, that was my plan. Now, the distance kind of messed things up for us, and that's just is what it is. But I couldn't get back there fast enough, so but we're still friends. Me and my ex, in Africa, we're still friends. But the point is, uh, we need to come together as one big family. We are very influential in the United States, and we could make some things happen around the world. But we do need to do a better job of repairing ourselves. But I'm gonna be honest too. Even though we're very influential, I think there are still some things we can learn from our African family all over the world, in South America, and in Europe, and even especially on the continent. We have the most influence, but we don't have the most traditional ways, and we don't have the most, like, we have industrial and business and things like that. Okay, so we could probably build a country, but we can't build a family. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think we could kind of learn from each other. You know what I
Definitely.
mean? And our African family can say this is how we move when it comes to family, and maybe
Mm,
us as Americans, we could say this is how we move when it comes to business. So
mm,
and look, and they're both interchangeable. Us in the West, we know some family, and people in Africa, they know some business. It's not just
mm.
one sided. Obviously there's mixtures, but I'm saying our strong points
It is,
are
yeah.
are in those areas. You see what I'm saying? What do you think
Definitely.
about that?
I'm on that same wavelength. I hear exactly what you're saying. And yeah, I think that's why I was so keen on having this conversation or
Yeah, yeah.
reviewing shows such as RTL, because at the end of the day, I promise you, at a very fundamental level, Black people are very much alike across the board.
Hmm.
I think in our first call, you said that there were a few things that Black America lost in because of the source. And I agree, but at a very fundamental level, I found there's so many similarities we have actually, like from I don't know how to explain it. Like I've just picked up on some similarities, the families and like um, your African roots as Black Americans, whether you deny it or accept it, they still show up in certain things and behaviors and like like I'll like
Hmm.
watch a Black American family and I'll be like, oh my gosh, that's like my family. Except we speak in Vernac, right? Or you're like, oh my gosh, that looks like my aunt, or it looks like something my uncle would do. We all have that drunk uncle. It's so weird because
Hmm.
I like even in Black America, they have that one drunk uncle you want to hide, like in a closet somewhere.
That
So
shout out to my uncle. I got a drunk uncle too. So
mine
y-
is
y-
so
y- y-
like Malum Philly shout outs, yes.
yeah,
So
you're right. We all relate to each other in different kinds of ways, though. I mean, we're pretty much the same. We're pretty much the same people. We're just in different environments, and we have to adapt to different things.
and I just think, okay, fine. If Black America or in America or in the West, all that source created some confusion, it would be nice as well to just balance that out with some sharing of insights from here as well. And like you said, just an exchange of valuable information could
Hmm.
better us on both ends. So I agree there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so this was a interesting one. I think we got another retreat coming up, and then we got some reunions coming up. So We'll see how everything go. Any last words you want to say?
Um, no, I think I'm good. This was an amazing show. It was very topical. It was interesting.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the next episode. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes,
You were dropping some jewels, what we call in the US. You were dropping jewels. So I appreciate you. You bring a lot to it. Thanks for watching. Hit the like, share, and subscribe for this. I don't know if I'm gonna break this up into two episodes or just do one video, but uh, hit that like, share, and subscribe for more. Again, thank you, Keitu, for joining me. You were awesome. You were dope, as we say in the US. And we will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.